One of the main benefits to working inside of Adobe Illustrator is the fact that everything you create inside of Illustrator is vector artwork, which means it's resolution independent and thus can scale infinitely up or down without any penalty. But what happens when we have artwork that's not created in Illustrator? Is there a way to take that artwork and make it vector? Yes, there is. And in this movie, I'm going to show you how to do that. So first things first, let's create a brand new document here by clicking the new button right there. And let's choose the print profile and choose letter and hit OK. Once we do that, we've got our Essentials workspace here. I'm going to reset that so everything's in the right place. And then what we're going to do is we're going to bring in a piece of artwork. So I'm going to go to the File menu and choose Place. And we're going to go out into our Chapter 5 Exercise Files folder. We're going to find this document called pattern.psd. Once I do that, it's going to give me the loaded cursor, and I can click to place that anywhere out on my artboard. You can see this is just an ornate pattern, and it was done in Photoshop. It's an image. It's not vector artwork, which means if I scale it up or I scale it down, it's going to degrade the quality of the image. But I want to be able to use this both as a background on my menu project and maybe in the future as a background on the web or on a business card, and I don't want changing the size of it to affect the overall quality. So how can I get this from its standard raster base into a vector base? Well, there are a couple of ways you could do it. I could take this into Photoshop and I could redraw it in there using custom shape tools, but that's going to take forever and probably not yield a very good result. I could also bring it in here and start to draw it with the pencil tool, but as we've already discussed, sometimes people aren't as adept with drawing with the pencil tool, and it can create some undesirable results if you don't know how to work it properly, and it's just going to take a whole lot of time. And same thing with the pen tool. It's all just too complicated, takes too much time to draw something like this. I want what everybody wants. I want the one-click fix. Well, there's not so much a one-click fix inside of Illustrator for something like this, but there is an option to get you most of the way there. So let's take a look at that. It's called Image Trace. So we've got this. Let's go ahead and put it directly in the center of the document, just like so. And once I have that out there, I'm going to open up the Image Trace panel by going to Window, Image Trace. So this Image Trace panel, and if you want more information on this panel, by the way, I have a whole course dedicated to it called Tracing Artwork in Illustrator. It'll walk you through this panel, soup to nuts, and show you everything you need to know. But for now, I just want to try to get the best results possible for this particular piece of artwork. So let's try the presets. These are usually the best way to do that. And one of my favorites when I'm dealing with something like this is to choose black and white logo. It tells me here that this may be a little slow because the image is large. What this is telling you is, hey, Illustrator might lock up here. Illustrator may even freeze here. If that's a problem, you need to hit cancel and use a lower resolution image. However, if you're using a modern computer with enough RAM and things like that, this shouldn't be too much of a problem. If for whatever reason Illustrator freezes while you're trying to do the trace, simply restart Illustrator and watch this movie again, this time without going through the tracing exercise. Okay, let's go ahead and hit OK to that. And Illustrator is going to attempt to make all those calculations, and boom. You probably didn't even see it. The change is so subtle, but this is now vector artwork. I'm serious. Watch this. If I go to resize it, it will actually recalculate on the fly and change it to be vector art every time I resize it. Now, if you don't want Illustrator to have to do that each and every time, you can, of course, turn this into live editable paths, and I'll show you how to do that in just a second. Now, what if we wanted this to sit on a background? Well, let's go ahead and draw out the background element here. And we'll just draw it out like this. Here we go. Okay. No stroke. Give it a fill. Let's see our libraries panel. Let's do that dark red color we had earlier. And arrange, send to back. There we go. Wait a minute. Why can't I see my red background? Well, basically, Illustrator has said that this tracing object here, they're recognizing that white background as part of the vector, so it's still there. Well, we need to get rid of it. Very easy to do. Go into the advanced options here. Towards the bottom, there is a checkbox called Ignore White. Go ahead and click that, and you may have to go through some calculations again, but there you go. Now it is just a black piece of artwork laying on top of that red background that we created. If you want to convert this into live editable paths, hit the expand button in the top of the control panel, and there you have it. Now you have a true piece of vector artwork made from the original Photoshop document that we placed in here. Now, are you going to get perfect results every time you do this? No. That's why I suggest you go watch the image tracing course, Tracing Artwork in Illustrator, so you can get more familiar with this image trace dialog box. Yes, image trace does get lucky on occasion and makes some pretty good guesstimates as to what you're trying to get. But for the most part, these sliders and everything in here, they're in there for a reason. They're in there so that you can get the most control possible over the vector output of the image trace that you're performing. So go ahead and check out that course if you want to learn a little bit more about this. And then as you come across things like this, bring them in, play around with the image trace panel, and see what you can come up with. It's a very powerful tool. You just have to learn all of the little things that go along with it to unleash its true power.